Hello guys, and welcome back to the Max. For those who don't know me, I am Max, a young music producer, and today we're going to react and analyze Powerwolf, Army of the Night. Now, I have, again, maybe heard 2 songs of Powerwolf so far. I did not hear this one yet, I know that. And yeah, we're just getting right into it. Don't want to keep you waiting. Unfiltered reaction, and then analyzing what's happening here.
Stand up all the night and call the fight. Let your men go out before the light. Here we come, the army of the night. Mother Maria, lined up side by side and bound to praise and to die and fight the final day. Army of the night, we came to slay Mother Maria. Before the night is falling, call on the heavens and amen. Follow the night as your Messiah calling. Bring on the sacrament, amen. Come on the other side into the dark. We are gathered for the rights of Christ. We are the force of light. Into the war we ride. Hallelujah. Stand up all the night and call the fight. Let your men go out before the light. Here we come, the army of the night.
Oh, like maybe you saw that like right from the beginning. I just loved the vibe of the song. Very like insanely motivational, very positive vibes. Again, didn't expect that at all. This is great. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of different instruments. But again, just like the last song we reacted to, and if you didn't see that, I will link it right now. I reacted to Ghost Spillways. It shows that one theme throughout a song is totally enough. You don't need to cram your songs. They surely love, Powerwolf surely loves breaks, at least in that song from what I could have heard, from what I've heard. Like breaking, taking a break, pausing whatever they're playing, and then getting back into it to come back harder. All right, let's get into the analyzation of what is going on musically, like for the notes, for writing, the instruments they have used, and then I will do again a second round where I'm talking about the production, what I can hear at least. All right, let's get into the musical finesse of them, how they're like what they're writing here, what they're doing here. There's a lot going on in this song, and now I have listened to some parts multiple times already, just so I can give you better analysis, because there's like so much going on here. I want to cover as much as possible. Let's start with the intro. A lot of cool things they brought in here, and yeah, let's just start.
Stand up all the night and call the fight. Let your men go out before the light. Here we come, the army of the night. Maria.
So the background organ plays the main chords. There's 3 different chords, it seems like. There's just a standard perfect fifth, then I think a major, back to the perfect fifth, and then maybe to something like a minor something chord. Sounds like that. Not entirely sure.
Stand up all the night and call the fight. Let your men go out before the light.
Back to the first one.
The army of the night.
Minor, I think. Not so sure. That is the main theme throughout the whole song, a part of some places, of course, but that's the main vibe going on here. Now, let's focus on the guitars and the drums and what the singer is doing here. Because in the beginning, for that introduction, the guitars and the drums, they do the same rhythm. They have a bit of syncopation going on, so that the next beat is kind of feeling like it's being led into. It's giving it a bit more drive. And then for the part where the singer, I think he sings Ave Maria, where he sings that, he joins the guitars and the drums rhythmically and melodically, which just makes it sound very epic. So they start apart from each other and then join and reunite for going into the first, I guess I would call that a chorus, because the first like real strophe comes later then. So let's go into the chorus now from the beginning.
Stand up all the night and call the fight. Let your men go out before the light.
First chord again, and now the singer joins them. Really, really cool here. So, again, very simple ideas, but there's a lot of stuff happening around it. So, it's made complex without being complex. There's not really melodically or like from a songwriting perspective, there's not really a lot of changes. There's not really a lot of stuff going on. This is again, that part now is again the same thing that we have heard in the introduction. The organ is still playing the same stuff, and the guitar just shows off the main riff here. The guitar plays around the same notes that are in the respective chords that are being played throughout the introduction. But it's not just, holding the notes of the chord. It's changing between them, having some, like playing around with them. Actually, that sounds a bit like what the singer is doing after the introduction, like in the introduction.
Stand up all the night and call the fight. Let your men
Oh, that's interesting. So the melody we can hear in the background here is being played by the guitar after the first chorus. Yeah, still going on here. Yeah. Oh, so what they did here is they took the guitar before also played that, the melody that we can hear in the beginning in the background that the organ is playing. Now the organ is just not playing it anymore. So there's a bit more room, which prepares the listener for knowing, all right, there's something taken out. We probably will hit a different, we will hit a different point soon. Like the song is going to change. There's energy taking out of it. Like there's a layer being stripped away. So that pretty much means you take something out. Okay, we take we take a step back. We slowly pull the song down and prepare for the first strophe.
Better you pray before the night is falling. Call on the heavens and amen. Follow the night as your Messiah calling. Bring on the sacrament, amen. Come on the other side into the dark. We are gathered for the right side. Please come. We are the force of light. Into the war we ride. Hallelujah.
Interesting. So let's go over this strophe right here. Yeah.
Better you pray before the night is falling. Call on the heavens and amen. Follow the night as your Messiah calling. Bring on the sacrament, amen.
So it seems like there's just two chords going on. And you have the first chord, the second chord going back to the first one. And then we start again at the first one. And after that first repeat, I'm not so
Before
sure.
the night is falling. Call on the heavens and amen. Follow the night as your Messiah calling. Bring on the sacrament, amen.
So two chords, just two simple chord changes. Interesting thing here is they didn't, just stick to the straight beat that would happen in the song, which would just be one chord, second chord, one chord, second chord. What they did is they played one chord for, I think this might be syncopated actually.
Better you pray before the night is falling. Call on the heavens and amen. Follow the night as your Messiah calling. Bring on the sacrament, amen.
It's not syncopated. What they did is for the first section of a beat, for one beat, they're playing the first chord, and then the second beat is divided into the second chord for half of it, and then the other half is back to the first chord, and then it starts all over again. And then we go into the bridge. Then we go into the bridge that is leading towards the chorus.
Come on the other side into the dark. We are gathered for the right side. Please come. We are the force of light. Into the war we ride. Hallelujah.
This actually reminds me a bit of the soundtrack of Attack on Titan, I think. The main theme, the opening of the first season, if it's that song. Yeah, I think it's that song. It's that sounds similar to this. All right. So it seems like that bridge has the same chords as the strophe before, just that the last chord that they're playing before repeating it is a different one. That they're not ending again at the beginning chord, but they're going towards something a bit higher. Because let's compare that to the strophe. So,
Better you pray before the night is falling. Call on the heavens and amen. Follow the night as your Messiah calling. Bring on the sacrament, amen. Come on the other side into the dark. We are gathered for the right side. Please come. We are the force of light. Into the war we ride. Hallelujah.
that's the basic movement, right? I might be off with the exact chords, and then the special little details that they had, but that's kind of what I understand here. So for the strophe, they are just playing around with two notes, which is pretty much a technique where you're holding tension, right? You're holding the listener in place because nothing is happening. And then on the second repeat for the bridge, what they're doing is they add another note in, so you're like, oh, something's going to change here. Again, really simple stuff. Just very, 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 there's a lot of stuff going on, so it's hard to pick those things apart. Like really, I'm really grinding here. Like this is hard for me to get into because there's so much stuff happening and going on. I'm really trying to keep it as simple as possible here. Let's go on to the chorus again.
Stand up all the night and call the fight. Let your men go out before the light. Here we come, the army of the night. Mother Maria, lined up side by side and bound to brace and to die and fight the final day. Army of the night, we came to save Mother Maria. Enemies falling with the servants bow. Better you pray before the night.
Oh, all right. So now I see what's different. To keep the energy going, right? The first time around when we entered the first strophe, just take a listen to the drum set.
Better you pray before the night is falling. Call on the heavens and amen. Follow the night as your Messiah calling. Bring on the sacrament, amen. Come on.
So what they did here is basically just a kick playing on the beat with the hi-hat, and then the hi-hat signaling, all right, we're going to change into the bridge. Now, the second time the strophe comes on, which is about here, he's actually continuing the same drum riff, the same drum pattern from the chorus, which pretty much means we're not taking energy out of here again, right? Because this is in the middle of the song, we don't want to lose any energy. At least that's what they're going for here, right? They could have also just played the same drum pattern as in the first strophe, but that would have drastically changed the energy in the song. So they stick with also playing the snare here, playing the same thing as in the chorus or something similar at least, which keeps the energy going.
Enemies falling with the servants spoken. Take it by higher and amen. Follow the marches when the Bible broken.
Melody seems to be the same still.
Come on the other side into the dark. We are together for the right side. Please don't.
Again, the same bridge with a bit more energy. Drums go a bit harder. Oh, breaks. All right, so this is my first big like smile right here. Or I think it even happened earlier and I didn't pick it up. But this break, like breaks can be so powerful. Let's listen to that again. And then I will explain a bit of the things. It sounds so good. So this is a technique where you pretty much raise the expectations because you take a break, everything is silent for a bit. And especially after a bridge like that you know the chorus is about to hit again and they're delaying that. They're delaying that. It's like a rubber band, you're stretching a rubber band. And then you finally let it snap. And that's the same technique basically here. You're taking a break, nothing is playing. You as the listener, you subconsciously know, oh, the chorus is going to come. And then you expect it to hit, and it doesn't hit. And you're like, oh, what's happening? Tension. And then it hits. Easy technique, breaks. Let's listen to it again one more time, because I just love how they pulled it off. That's a great thing here. They showed, with the first strophe and the first chorus, they showed you what to expect. These are the expectations here. Strophe, chorus. And then here, they are playing a bit around with that, because they're not just repeating the same thing that happened before again. They have a different drum beat, like the drum beat from the chorus is taking over to the next strophe because they want to keep the energy going. And then before they hit into the chorus again, after the second time the strophe is coming, they have that break. That sounds a bit like a reversed tom or something. Sounds like a big, at least like a big percussion instrument that is reversed to signal that when the next hit is going to come after the break. Let's go back a bit again so you can listen out for it. All right. Oh, that C section. So this is the breaking point for the song, right? I always think of the C section as the real deal of the song. This is what it was all about, always, all the time. This is what the song was building towards to, right? Because the intro and the strophe and the chorus, they're all powerful, they're all there, but then this weird part that is sticking out because it's so like not so different, but different from the rest. That's always kind of the pointe, like in a joke, like that's the payoff right there. That's what you get. This is what it has been working towards to. And yeah, let's I think it starts about here. So for the drums, really simple, just the kick drum going. We have some ride action, very common in metal, right? Playing on the ride. When you have the like a melodic resolution, stuff like that, that usually happens, and then the crash coming in for some highlights of some, like punctuate to highlight some key interesting points of rhythm. That's what the crashes do. So it sounds like there's 2 tracks of guitars. I pulled down the volume now. That can really help. That's a good tip for production. Just pull down the volume a bit and you can hear a bit more of the details and characteristics that stick out. Because if you you listen to music too loud, everything is kind of so loud and in your face that it's hard to pick some things apart. So I usually take down the volume a bit so I can listen to the details more. And I think it's just 2 tracks of guitar, but I'm not so sure yet. But what they did with the writing here is the guitars firstly do the main, let's say, solo together, and then they split apart again. The same thing we have seen in Ghost in Spillways with their guitar solo. Same, writing technique where the 2 instruments do the same thing and then they go apart, do their own stuff, and come back together at the end, or don't come back together. It doesn't really matter. Depends really on what resolution you want to go for. Oh, all right. Okay, it sounds like, but I'm not so entirely sure. They have rhythm guitars a little bit pulled back, left and right, kind of just going with the rhythm, like on the deeper strings, and then the solo guitars playing that same rhythm on the higher strings. And one guitar is sticking with what the rhythm guitars are doing, and the other guitar is kind of like the lead melody that is changing. I think that is what's happening. Let's go back and listen out for that. I think this is what's happening. And here the resolution of both of these guitars joining back together is just the ending note that they're both working towards to. Yeah. Now what we have here is strings taking over the main melody and chords that we have heard in the introduction being played by an organ. And some like deeper brass section going with that. Really awesome. But they're playing something different. They're not playing along the notes of the main melody. They're going down. Going up first. Down again. Down. Low. Lower. Lower. Up again. It's a bit like an alternate version of, like just a complete alternate version of everything we've heard so far. Let's go back again and listen to that again. I think that's the same note as the first main chord that we have heard in the introduction. Yeah, it's just a entirely different melody. Now, this is really cool. Here, what they're doing is they just take the highlights, the highlighted notes from the main melody, from the introduction and from the chorus, and they just play those with the guitar, and they kind of give more energy with them through the drum set, through the kick drum and some hi-hat, I think. No, it's just seemingly just some toms with the kick drum, at least for when the guitar plays. And then they have these, like, how do I say that? They have these like landmarks, what the guitar is doing. And then when the guitar is not playing anything, it goes back to a normal beat, just the kick drum, dush, 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 just hitting on the beat. Alright, so now let's think about why we can, like, kind of hear that it's the main melody from the chorus, even though they're just playing some notes. I think what they have done is they have taken out the main notes from the main chord change in the introduction, and they're just playing the additional notes that we can hear in the chorus, which would be yeah, I think that's what's happening. And also they cut the sections in half, so they're just playing half of the things of the chords, like just half of the guitar parts that are played over the chords. It's getting maybe a bit too much into detail here, but I really just love analyzing the song. Holy hell. Yep. I think what they have done in the chorus is that between the notes they're playing on the guitar, there's a palm mute in there, and now they're just taking it out, so the guitar feels a bit more airy. The song can breathe a little more because you're taking some stuff out again, like in the beginning, and that really works well. And I love the small guitar parts that they are adding into that. Oh, alright. This is cool. I don't know exactly how this technique is called, but what they're doing here is, again, subverting your expectations, or going over your expectations in that case. What they're doing here is they are taking the last part of the bridge that we are used to hearing, and they're extending it a little bit. About twice the size, actually. So, because usually what we're used to hear is this. Listen to the hallelujah, hallelujah, and then listen to the melody that is there. Sorry for my not so on point melody with my voice. I'm just not a singer, really. And then here we have the same thing, just the last two syllables are twice as long. Oh, that was actually right on point. And back to the main chorus. Also with a small break, so add some extra tension to it right there. Yeah, and then in the end there's some variation that is resolving the main riff into it's just resolving the main riff pretty much, just into another direction. So it's just a variation of the main riff. So the end is, more clearly marked as the end. And it doesn't feel like, because what can happen if you just play the same thing again and you stop there, it can sometimes sound a bit like unresolved. It can sound unresolved. And in this case, they're resolving it by just moving the last note somewhere else. To, I think that's just the key note, like the root note of the key. So it feels resolved. Easy trick. So there were a lot of really cool things here, really cool techniques in songwriting. It was very hard to pick them apart because there's so much going on in the song, production-wise. And this is what I'm really stoked about now, talking about the production, because holy hell, that production is insane. So, let's go over the drum set first.
Stand up all the night and call the fight. Let your men go out before the light. Here we come, the army of the night. Mother Maria, line up side by side and bound to praise and to...
We have a very noticeable click in the drums, and something that seems like the I call it the basketball effect. Like it sounds really hard hitting, and that hard hitting effect is usually when you leave the, let's say, the frequency around 120, 130, 40 hertz in there, because they sound really like full and like just like a basketball's like being thrown at you or being thrown at the wall. And it's fitting here very well because, and they needed to do that, the bass is really low. I think the bass touches down to like 60 hertz or something. Which helps it being more epic, because the lower the bass is, just from my experience, the lower the bass is, the fuller, the wider it kind of gets, the more it fills the room, and that kind of makes it more epic. So, because usually you have the bass sitting around 80 to 90 hertz, maybe 100 sometimes, but 100 can start humming, so don't do that. And in this case, it's really low. And that just makes it sound more epic, because the bass is like, the melodic thing that sits on the ground of the song. If you think about it three-dimensionally, it's just, like the fundament of everything is based upon that, which sounds really great. But then you have the problem, the kick drum usually sits around like 60 hertz, and you wouldn't hear that. So what they're doing here, the pronunciation of the kick drum is being moved to around 125 hertz, which is completely free, at least in that panning and in that section of the three-dimensional room. And there's still some low hum going on with the kick drum, but it's being swallowed when the bass is playing along with the kick drum. Yeah, here you can work it a little bit out, that there's like some deeper kicking, like ambience going with that, just so it sounds more natural. Boom. Sounds a bit like pulsating, but when the bass is playing louder, it's kind of swallowed, and it doesn't really matter, because when the bass is playing louder, or when the bassist is playing with a bit more aggression, it's usually in the chorus, so you don't need to hear all the ambience, because it's swallowed anyways, because there's guitars going on, and then there's organ going on, and then there's a singer, so you don't need the ambience really, because that wouldn't work itself through the room anyways, because you wouldn't hear that. Other than that, really straightforward mixing. I would say typical metal compression on the instruments, on the drums right here. And maybe let's listen out for the snare drum, because I really like the snare drum. The snare drum sounds really epic, because it sounds like it has most of the very like snappy heights being taken away, and that helps pulling it back. That helps bringing it more into sounding like it's in a grander area, because it's like being pulled away from the viewer because you don't have these snappy heights in there, and that pretty much helps to make the ambience of the sound, the soundscape feel wide and really epic. So that is cool. And it also has a good lower mids section. The kick, the snare drum. The part that goes a bit like gonk gonk in the snare. So what they did here is putting in more mids for the snare, and that works well because that gives it a lot of warmth and a lot of color, tonal color especially, and it just makes it sound very epic as well. Especially there's some lower mids in this snare, and it fits very well, right? It's all about the soundscape. You really need to think about, when you produce something like that yourself, you need to think about, okay, so what feeling do you want to go for? This is a very epic song, so you want to go for a grand and epic sound. And that's how you achieve it. You think about how would the instrument at hand sound in this grand and epic soundscape that I'm imagining. And yeah, so that's what they do with the snare right here. Now let's talk about guitars. Now, again, I don't know what amps they're using, what equipment they're using, and I just want to go into this as unbiased as possible, so I'm not making any, so I'm not just making any kind of accusations based on what equipment they're using. So let's listen into the guitars and what's going on here.
Stand up all the night and call the fight. Let your men go out before the light. Here we come, the army of the night. Line up side by side and bound to praise and to die and fight the final day. Army of the night, we crave to save
I don't want to make any quick assumptions here, but it sounds like what they're doing is playing some of the chorus riffs just an octave higher on the first tracks of guitars, and then playing the same thing on the standard octave that they're at with the guitars, with their tuning. Again, on the second tracks. And the deeper strings are not as hardly mixed in there, but I'm not so sure because it gives me the feeling that there's more than just one track on each side. It sounds so grand. I think this is what's happening. In any case, the guitars are very tightly played, but I'm trying to listen out for like the small details that kind of give it away. This is one remarkable guitar track that is playing on each side of one time, but I can't really hear that because as soon as there would be some kind of detail, because you're pulling the strings or you're grabbing them again, these kind of things, they're kind of like muffled down, which is usually a sign for there's one or two more tracks on that same side. It's just very tightly played, so you don't really notice that there is another track going on. think what they did with penning for the guitars is that there's like one main section of guitars that is around like maybe like an 80 pen or something, maybe a 70 pen, and then the supporting guitars that are just like kind of the rhythm guitars are like at 100 pen. So they're to the outside, and then the 80s are a bit more towards the middle. So the main melody sits a bit more in the front, is a bit more powerful, at least, you know, like visually speaking. And the rhythm guitar that is below that just sits there and supports the rest. What I can imagine here is that there's one lead guitarist, one rhythm guitarist, and they have both of each playing on both sides. And not just, you know, like the left-right split, like in old school metal. I think that's what's going on, that they're both on the left and on the right side. Totally. Here, especially in this part, you can hear that there's like rhythm guitars a little bit with less volume, left and right panned, while the solo guitars are doing their thing. Yeah. And that makes it sound really, really grand because you have more to it, and it's just there, just barely noticeable. You know, it's just enough so that you won't really notice it if you don't pay attention to it, but when you pay attention to it, you can feel, oh, there's more to it, but you can't really put your finger on it, and that's exactly the effect that they want to go for. So great guitar work, great guitar sound, I think. Very midzy guitar sound, which fits the vibe very well. Love that. Really, really love that. Now, I was talking about the bass before. Let's see if we can get some characteristics of the bass in maybe the strophe.
Better you pray before the night is falling. Call on the heavens and amen. Follow the night as your Messiah calling. Bring on the sun.
Bit of gain, maybe slight bit of distortion, can't really make that out. But just a bit of gain on that bass. There's no heights at all. You know, you have no like clanky bass sounds here. Which helps it, makes it more epic, because the bass is just sitting very low down there. You know, it's just down there, just supporting the sound, just the song, just bringing everything forward. And you have no like distraction of the bass kind of like clanking along with it, because I think it wouldn't fit the soundscape here. It could maybe, but I think that would pull it apart. Also, I think it wouldn't make sense too much for the soundscape, because you have this like grand, powerful room, and then the bass should just be the bass in that case. But that's just my opinion, right? But I think that's what was the decision making going into that with the production here.
Night is falling, call on the heavens and amen. Follow the night is...
Let's actually listen out for the organ and then the strings that come at the end.
Stand up all the night and call the fight. Let your men go out before the light. Here we come, the army of the night. Mother Maria, light up side by side and bound to praise and to die.
Can't really say much about the organ. I don't know if this is a real recorded one or if it's a MIDI one. I would say it's MIDI, which doesn't make it less cool. It still sounds awesome. It fits very well.
Stand up all the night and call the fight.
There's not a lot of mids going on with the organ, which is good, because the guitars take on mids already, the snare takes on mids already, the voice takes mids on already, and there are multiple voicings. So if the organ would also now have some like real mids, that would just clutter the sound. So they've taken that out, and it makes it sound more epic, because you kind of just hear the upper frequencies of it like dancing over the sound, if you imagine it visually.
Let your men go out before the light. Here we come, the army.
Yeah, so that's making it sound really, really good. I think that's to the organ. There might be a bit of reverb on it. Yeah, there's definitely some reverb going on. Now to the strings. That's definitely meaty, but it sounds good. I don't want to downplay it with it, right? It sounds really good. It fits the vibe. It fits the vibe of the song because it's so perfectly, like perfectly on point. It kind of just makes it sound more epic for some reason, because it sounds like it doesn't really sound like a machine. You can't really, like tell it if that's the case, but it just gives off a specific vibe. And that vibe fits here. Because they could have also gotten for, like a real string set, and maybe they did, and I'm just, making a complete outraging statement here, but I believe that this is MIDI, and intentionally they chose MIDI here, because that gives off a specific vibe that fits the song. Again, here we don't have a lot of mids in these strings. We have some higher mids, surely, and some highs, but not a lot of, like mids, true mids, and low mids. But a bit of bass, which makes especially the brass, not the brass section. In the beginning of the video, I think I called it brass section. There's no brass going on. It's like just the lower string instruments. Can't really recall the name right now. That are having a bit of a bass there, which makes it sound grander. Yeah, especially in the last note. You can really hear the bass in these strings. Also, now I just realized the amount of reverb, like the length of the reverb, the tail length of the reverb on the snare drum. It's really, like, it's a lot, but it helps just making it like grander and more powerful. All right, let's go over the voice, because that is nuts what they're doing here with just the singing. I think in the introduction it's the clearest. For like listening to it and kind of picking apart what's going on. So there's definitely, for the leading voice, one track, and just a very nice plate reverb on the vocals. And they have taken out, they have not taken in any bass for the like low rumbles for the voice, for the main vocal, so they get rid of this studio feeling, and they're more going for live sound, where you have more centered mids and more heights, and it makes it sound grander, because that, again, like pulling away the bass from an instrument. Voice is an instrument that doesn't really have natural bass in it, just helps it make it feel more natural, bigger in a sense. Works really well. It's like choir singing. Yeah, I think this is what's happening. Like that, they have actually a choir singing with him, or just maybe not a choir singing with him, but what they did is a choir hitting the same notes in the same rhythm, like just a MIDI choir that is hitting the same notes and the same rhythm in the background, and just having it there, sitting there, to make it sound really epic. Could also be a thing. Don't know if that's an actual technique, but that could work. I could imagine that. Yeah, so I think I've like I've recorded here over an hour of analyzes, and I've definitely cut it together for you to make it more watchable because there's so much stuff going on here. Under the hood, again, very simple songwriting. There's one main theme, a bit of variation on the places they need to have it so that you know as a listener there's going to be a change, there's tension build up, there's going to be a chorus, there's going to be the C section. Great songwriters, once again. Great sound, very epic sound. And I hope I could bring you some knowledge across with this here, how to make your own greater, more epic sounds. And I will hopefully see you in the next one. I hope you enjoyed this one, and stay safe.